So please give a warm welcome to the Commander.
Hey, thank you. All right, thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate it. See you next year, okay? Just a couple of announcements. If anyone has anything better to do right now, like doing your laundry or walking your dog instead of listening to this, now's a good time to go. This is going to be the most boring, worthless lecture you're ever going to hear. It's not going to change any of your lives, and you're going to be, what the hell did I get up in this rain for this morning? However, being that we were just a little bit intoxicated a couple of weeks ago, Ori and I figured, hey, what else? Why shouldn't we give something now that the award seasons are up for Hollywood films? Why don't we talk about the movies? So I'm assuming some of you people actually know what the movies are. I just need a show of hands. How many people here hate the movies? How many people here like the movies? How many movies here are movie fans? And how many are movie buffs? Now, movie buff is someone who they know the movies. They're smarter than all the fans. No one here is a movie buff. All right, well, I guess you're all going to fail this course. This is going to be interactive. If any of you have ever been in my F1 classes, you know that they go very fast. Do not take notes. I don't expect you to be able to pass. That's why you have to repeat it the second semester. It's going to be interactive, so there are going to be little pop quizzes here and there, and I expect all of you to yell out the answers. Okay? Don't be shy. Just yell them out if you know them. And hopefully, I won't waste an hour of your life. Okay? Now, at the movies, there's a lot to talk about when we talk about movies. How you make them, how you produce them, what goes into it, etc. Most people don't really understand that. And my experience basically is cleaning the toilets on the movie set, so I get to see all the shit that happens, okay? Now, let's talk about the components of producing a film, all right? The first thing we have to do is we say, hey, let's make a movie. Well, first thing we got to do is we got to find a story, right? Because every movie is about a story. And then we have to create the script. Well, you know, just because you have a great story, you read a great novel, doesn't mean that's a movie script, and they are two totally different animals. All right? So now we have a good script, we want to do a movie, we got to create a budget. And that's how much is this damn thing going to cost us, all right? So we've got a budget down, well, then we got to find the money. We got to find and secure the financing to make the film. And then, once we got money, what do? We figure out how to spend it, and that's called greenlighting the project. You think that's simple? It's not. Alright, first pop quiz. Who said I spend 95% of my time raising money to finance movies and the other 5% actually making movies? Who knows the answer? Who? Spielberg? No. Orson Welles. Okay, we got 0. Alright? Alright, so once we figured out we want to do this, then we have to create a production company. And the production company first has the executive producer. If you don't know what the executive producer movies are, that's the money. That's the guy who's putting up the money for the film. Then you have the producer. The producer is kind of like the contractor. You want to build a building, well, you have a designer, you have a developer, but the contractor is the guy who's got to build the damn building, and that's what the producer does, okay? He's responsible for everything. And then he has a lot of help from either other producers, associate producers, or co-producers. Because in today's world of movies, they're not like it used to be when John Wayne did a movie. They go to a set and they wrap the whole damn thing in 2 weeks. This thing takes months and months and months, all right? So then, with that, you then need what we call a line producer or a unit production manager. And that's the person who's really in charge of hiring and firing the entire corporation of the people who work. The union people, the laborers, the crew, the staff, everybody. Transportation. He hires all the different components and figures out how they fit into the budget. Of course, then you have legal, because you can't do anything today without a lawyer. And then of course you need accounting because you got to pay these people. And then you need a whole staff of little people running around doing all sorts of wonderful little things. Okay? So now that we've got our company, we need to start prepping a film. So what do we do? Okay? First thing we have to do is we have to find a writer to create that perfect script. And there's no such thing as a perfect script. So this process goes on for a long time, trust me. Then, you have the script, you got to find the director. Well, that's hit or miss. If you find a good director, but doesn't know anything about the stuff you're doing, that's going to be a miss. So you got to find that right director because he's also going to be responsible to pick the lead cast. Certain people want to work with James Cameron. Certain people want to work with Spielberg. So depending on the name of that director, well, then you can get a much better cast. Then you need to secure a distributor. The distributor is the person who's going to go out and sell that movie for you. Any person who creates a movie or creates a book or creates anything without distribution is just throwing their money away. For years and years and years, I used to see people at the Cannes Film Fest who produce the movie, and they're running around with the films on their backs, trying to get someone to pick up the movie to distribute it. Because without a distributor, no one will see it, and you can never get it out. Then, you need some shooting locations. Where are we going to film this thing? Is it going to be in a set? Is it going to be in Australia? Are we going to go to Louisiana because we get tax credits there? Can we shoot some in Louisiana and some in Chicago? Are we going to go to Thailand? Where are we going to go? Okay? And remember, most films are what we call cheap locations. So they may say they're in Liechtenstein and they're actually in New Orleans on a set because you can't tell the difference, but they get a big tax credit for that. So the shooting locations are very, very important. Then we have to come up with a shooting schedule. And that is, when are we shooting this? How long will it take to shoot? Who is required to be involved in the shoot, etc. And we have something called days out of days. So we have our star, but when we film based by location. Films are not shot in order. They are out of order based on location. Think about a James Bond film, okay? They hit 5 different countries. Well, you don't think they go back and forth because the script calls for that. They film one location and they do a company move to another location with the key people, and they pick up a whole new production team. All right? That's the way it works. If it rains, they have what's called a covered set. So if they're supposed to be on the street, they can then switch to another scene in that same location very easily. So when it snows, it rains, problems, they have to get up early in the morning, 5 a.m. to figure where they're shooting for that day based upon the location. You know, this is so difficult a problem that we actually have computers that do this for us now. It used to be done by hand, which is why films are now a lot more extensive because of the amount of work that goes into them. All right, so let's talk about the money, a budget breakdown. When we look at a budget, it's broken down to several different areas. Above the line, below the line, the pre-production, the production, the post-production, the print and advertising, legal and miscellaneous. Now, I could give an entire college course on just this one section, on film budgets. And actually, I used to be part of a teaching group where we took young wannabe producers and we broke this thing down over a one-week boot camp course, which was a lot of fun. And of course, after that, none of them wanted to be a producer ever again. But let's just look at this single sheet that we have here. This is our budget breakdown. So we have them categorized by a spreadsheet number from the 1100s to the 1900s. And we have the story, the producer, director, cast. That's the lead cast. Travel and living, miscellaneous, and the fringe benefits. Why? Because it's union. And that already took 6 pages on the spreadsheet. Then we look at the production. We have the staff, talent, art direction, set. You have to strike the sets. You have the operation of the sets. You have the special effects, set dressing property, the wardrobe, electrical rigging, cameras, sound, transportation. This is a lot of stuff that goes in, and this is a small budget. This is a small film, and we're already 26 pages long. Then, when we wrap all the filming, we then go into post. which is where we have to create everything that goes along to make the movie a complete piece. And I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. That's the editing, the sound, the post-production sound, the post-film and lab, colorization, main ending titles, fringe benefits, of course. And then we have the additional stuff, which is publicity, insurance, general overhead fees, etc., etc. All of this, so this little budget was 34 pages long. Someone had to come up with all of this information before we could even start spending any money. All right? Now, one of the main critical pieces that we're going to talk about, and only one little piece, is going to be sound. Sound is critical in movies ever since sound became available from the silent movies. Okay, these are movie soundtracks. I want you to imagine what it would be like having a film without having these musical scores. Anyone? I will turn it down a little bit.
The Godfather.
Anyone else? What?
The Godfather.
Ding! Very good. That was The Godfather. All right? Turn it down just a little bit. I was hoping it'd be louder than the buzz, but it's much louder than the buzz. Okay? Here's the next one.
The Pink Panther.
Very good. Turn it down just a little more, Lori. Perfect. Very good. Pink Panther. Ding. Okay. You're doing pretty good. Can you imagine not having this song associated with Pink Panther? It'd be crazy, right? How about this one?
James Bond.
Oh, you all got that one. That was an easy one, right? See why these are so critical? You don't even have to think of the movie. All you have to do is hear the music. That was Bond. James Bond.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Very good. Who said that? Raise your hand. All right. No one wants to take credit? Oh, forget it. You don't need to come close, okay? That is, of course, Star Wars. Right? How about this one?
Star Trek.
Star Trek, very good, right? Two sci-fi movies, two totally different soundtrack themes. Listen how important that is. You feel that mood that brings it in, okay? How about this one?
Oh, the good, the bad, the ugly.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Right. So famous 50 years ago. And you still remember that song 50 years ago. Try thinking of a pop song that you remember 50 years later. All right?
Jaws.
Jaws. Very good.
Jaws.
You're just afraid to go in the water when you hear that, right? Okay. Here's one.
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Very good. You turn up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Up. Up. Just a little bit. Very good. I love that. John Williams, great.
Oh, Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible, very good. All right? Pretty easy stuff, huh? Don't worry, the test will get a lot harder. Okay? When we have a pop quiz coming up. Very good, Mission Impossible. And the last one, this is an easy one.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, very good. They're coming out with a new one. It's an all-female cast. That'll be coming out shortly. Okay? So, now we understand why music is important into a film. Not just talkies, it's the music that goes with it. So let's talk about the steps of making a film. First thing we have is we call the pre-production, which is the stuff we've already discussed. We gotta figure out who the director's gonna be, who our cast's gonna be, we gotta come up with a budget, we gotta do all that fun stuff. Once we have all that, Then we do our pre-production, which is where we figure out the different cast members that we need. We got to figure out the costumes, the wardrobe, all that other stuff, our shooting locations, etc. And once we do all that fun stuff, then we come up with the actual production. This is where we burn money like you've never seen in the film business. Every minute costs thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And there's always a problem, and there's always an issue, and there's always an over budget. But the production is where you burn the money. After your filming is over, your out party's done, then you go into a post-production, which is where you add your sound, your music, your effects, everything, etc. under the sun, and maybe even have to go back and reshoot stuff because it didn't work when they looked at it. You have to do your colorization. A lot of things happen here, and this thing takes months. Then goes to distribution, which is where we give it to the distributors. Now, the distributors are our sales guys. Their job is to sell the film. They get paid for that, plus their expenses. Remember that, because we're going to go over that in just a minute when it comes to profit and loss. And then we have the sales cycle, which is usually about 1 year. Why? Because it has to go to 3 different markets, and the 3 markets happen throughout the year. One in Cannes, which is the Marche de Cannes. One is AFM, the American Film Market, which is in California. And then they have the Venice Market. Okay? Now this is different from the Cannes Film Festival and Sundance Film Festival. Those are film festivals where people show up their films and they try to get them sold. But the market is where all the business happens. And then of course we have the release, which is where the distributors now get the money in from the box office, unless of course they sold foreign territories. They break it up to domestic and foreign. Now, in foreign and big markets, whether you have England or France or Germany, they may do those on a box office basis, where in Thailand, it probably isn't being done in a box office because they probably could never get the money. They just sell it on a flat fee. So if they want it, they pay a flat fee and they get it, and they don't care if they make money or not in the box office. Okay? That's the release schedule. Now, let's talk about movie sound. I'm going to show you a clip of a movie, and if anyone knows what it is, you can shout it out. And this is just the video that was shot, that was then put together in the editing bay to create this one scene, okay? There is no sound. So it looks like someone's on an airplane, and they're crawling around.
Snakes on a plane.
Snakes on a plane, no. Anyone recognize this scene? What? Flight plan, no. Come on. What?
Apollo 13.
No, it's not Apollo 13.
Space Cowboys.
Space Cowboys? Nope. What? Superman, Man of Steel. Very close. He is correct. This is the return of Superman. All right? You really can't tell without the sound. Now let's add just the music track in the background, okay? So now you feel the tension building. You get a real idea that something bad is going to happen. Feel the tension? Music brings the tension to you. Okay, now let's go ahead and see what happens when we add in all the sound effects that have to go into this. Now, what are sound effects? Well, think about it. 2 guys walking up this flight of stairs. You can hear them hitting the stair, right? You can hear them doing it. The question is, where do they put the microphone? How do they pick it up? They don't. It's all done in a Foley and a Dolby stages, okay, where they added all the effects. And these are where the sound geniuses have to figure all this stuff out, which is why they give awards for this, because it is the critical portion to really create that total scene. In fact, the Academy of Arts and Sciences just gave out 30 3 awards to scientists for their contribution to the film industry. Okay? Very technical. Alright, so now you see what happens when we added all the effects. And that's, we're just talking sound. That's all we're talking about here. Sound and music. Alright, so our first pop quiz. Movie soundtracks. These are the themes. If you know it, yell it out. Okay? And this is like, I can name that tune and you got 10 to 15 seconds. Name it. Love Story. No. Okay. Anybody? No. That was Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey in Contact. Okay. All right. Here's another one. You ready?
Titanic.
No, not Titanic. What? Blue Lagoon. No. This was the top box office movie in history called Avatar.
Well, same guy.
Actually, it's going to be overtaken shortly. Okay, this is a tough one. You ready? Movie, Spider-Man. Okay, now this is one I know you've all seen. Directed by Michael Mann. Everyone give up?
Yeah.
Turn the cards over. It is Scarface. All right, here's another tough one. Very good, a winner, bingo! John Carpenter, Escape from New York. Wasn't that tough either? That's right, that's right. And here's one, I love this one. Come on, anybody know this? Came out worldwide. Fortunately, it bombed. But I love this movie. Pacific Rim.
Oh, it's terrible.
Horrible movie. I liked it, but it bombed big time. Okay, here's another one. Here's an easy one, real easy for you, okay? So we got one so far. All right, next one. Oh. I'm the Batman. All right, here's one. What? Top Gun, very good. Tom Cruise, theme from Top Gun. So these are the themes and soundtracks that we're hearing that are actually in the back of the movie all the time. Okay? Here's another one. Jump in at once. That was X-Men. Okay, this is an easy one.
Back to the future. Back to the future.
Back to the future. Right. Very good. All right. So we got three. You got 3 out of 12, right? 4. Well, you got Escape from New York. We have Terminator. Oh, 4. Okay, so we got 4. Okay. Now, let's talk about profit and loss. A film that does $100 million. Did it make money or lose money? Hey, did the box office? What? Did $100 million? Did it make money or lose money?
Lose money.
That's not the way you calculate it. The way you calculate a film, very simply, you should take the worldwide gross profit. You divide that in half, and then you subtract the production budget. This is the simplistic, raw way of doing it. Let's take a $30 million film. A $30 million film is going to have a print and an advertising budget on top of the film. Normally has to be about 50%. So we have to spend another $15 million. Okay? The distributor will do this in order to get this thing advertised to people to see it. So our $30 million film now goes and becomes a $45 million film. It does $50 million. Our $30 million film does $50 million. Well, we have to subtract things from that. Our distributor is going to get his 20% sales commission, so we have to subtract 10 million, so now we're at 40 million. We have to subtract his cost. Let's just add in another $2 million. We're at 38 million. Now we have to subtract the $15 million for the print and advertising budget. So 38 minus 15 is what? 23 million. All of a sudden, we just lost $7 million on a $30 million film. We did $50 million box office. Now, other things like television, DVD sales, sales to hotels and airplanes, they will all increase the amount of income, but all the expenses decrease the amount. So the rule of thumb is you take the worldwide gross, divide it in half, then subtract the production budget, okay? And that's going to tell you whether or not you made or lost money. Now, let's look at some additional factors. A worldwide gross of about 151 million on a production of 225 million for 47 Ronin is estimated to be the biggest box office bump based on the absolute loss of just the worldwide gross. Okay? However, such claims usually include, they don't include the other income that you get, and it doesn't include the costs of the distribution and the print and advertising. When you add those in, the numbers could be absolutely off the charts. For instance, in addition to the $225 to the $250 million that Disney spent producing the Lone Ranger, it was estimated that they spent another $150 on worldwide marketing. So it brought it up to $400 million, causing Disney to take $160 to $190 million loss. Okay? So just because it did $200 million doesn't mean it made any money. Okay? All right, another quiz. These are easy. For those of you who don't know music, hopefully you will remember this. Now remember, movies have a big impact on our lives. We refer to movies all the time and we don't even realize we're doing it. And some of those are famous movie lines. Here's one. If you know it, spit it out. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Gone with the Wind, very good. All right, next one. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. Godfather, very good. All right? You don't understand. I could have been a contender. On the Waterfront, very good. All right. I got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Wizard of Oz, excellent. Okay, so we're back to 1,000 so far. Here's looking at you, kid. Casablanca, Humphrey Bogart, famous line, okay? Go ahead. Make my day.
Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood. Made it super famous with that line, right? I'll be back.
Terminator.
Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, another famous movie line. We use these every day, okay? May the Force be with you.
Star Wars.
Maybe not that one, but Star Wars, okay? What we have here is a failure to communicate.
Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke, very good, all right? I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory. Huh? Apocalypse Now, right. They call me Mr. Tibbs. Oh, come on! All right, to Sir with Love, Sidney Poitier. You talking to me? You talking to me?
Taxi
Now,
driver.
lines in movies, believe it or not, get reused, and then they get made fun of in other movies. Okay, it's a constant inside Hollywood joke. But that was in the movie
Taxi driver.
Taxi Driver. Okay? Now, let's look at some movie terminology for a minute. The first thing we talk about is a franchise. What's a franchise? Well, a franchise is a movie that can spawn sequels and prequels. Well, what are some examples? How about Lethal Weapon? Star Wars, Spider-Man, Jurassic Park. These are sequels. They keep making a sequel. Sometimes they make a prequel, movie beforehand. Then there's a tentpole. And a tentpole is a brand that can spawn multiple franchises. Got it? So, give me an example of a tentpole. Simple. Marvel, The Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxies, Spider-Man. It's all Marvel, which is why Disney bought them for billions of dollars. Because they can create more and more of these movies, right? Now, let's look at the 10 top box office hits. Avatar, which is now going to be overtaken. It's now overtaken actually by number 8 on the list, Star Wars The Force Awakens. But they don't know if it'll overtake foreign. It may overtake foreign, but it's already overtaken domestic. So you have Avatar, Titanic, Jurassic World, Marvel's The Adventures, Furious 7, Avengers, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Frozen, Iron Man 3, Minions. Notice anything about these films? These are all films that are what I call rated I, for immature audiences. They're all kids, adolescent type films, because the only people who go to the movies today are kids. Adults don't bother to go to the movies. We watch it at home on our home theater system in the privacy, so we don't have to hear somebody talking and their phones going off or listening. We don't bother. So the movies that are making money are the ones that are designed to kids who go out on dates and who just want to go action films, a chick flick, whatever it is, that's what they do. Now, last year, just reported in the Wall Street Journal on Monday, out of the 129 films that were major releases, 129, guess how many of them made a profit?
30.
4.
Oh, 4.
I think it was, maybe it was 5, maybe I read it wrong, 5. 124 films didn't make any money. Which is why, sorry, there's no question until the end, which is why they make these films. Because they need these big blockbusters, these tentpoles and these franchises, where they know they have a built-in audience in order to make up for the losses. When I wrote about Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and I wrote about it 5 months ago in my upcoming films, I started out a long, long time ago in San Francisco, down in San Rafael, a couple of guys got together and said, let's make another $1 billion. All right? Because it's been 30 years since the original, and they're going after the new young audience. Right? Let's talk about the opposite side. Here are the box office flops. 47 Ronin lost 147 million. Mars Needs Moms, 130 million loss. John Carter, another Disney film, giant flop, lost 121 million. R.I.P.T. just came out. It lost between 90 to 140. Sahara, which we like. I like Sahara, Matthew McConaughey. I like that film. It had a $160 million budget. It only did 119. It lost 100 million because they had to add in the print and the advertising. And my favorite of all time, The Adventures of Pluto Nash. Cost $100 million and it only did 7 million worldwide. It was such a bomb. It lost 96 million. How not to be a producer in a film and then have your money based on your earnings, okay? On your profits. All right. It's time for more pop quizzes. Since you did so well on movie lines, I got some more of them for you, okay? This may be a little tougher. Citizen Kane, very good. To Serve Man. It's a cookbook.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, very good. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
The Day the Earth Stood Still, very good. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Network. Boy, you guys see, you remember these lines really well. Bond, James Bond, of course. The most famous movie line in history. The most recognized, other than YMCA, yes, this is it, by short. There's no place like home.
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Show me the money. Show me the money. Jerry Maguire, very good. And that line, that one scene, got Cuba Gooding Jr. the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Okay? Could you imagine if you're a writer and you're sitting writing out these scripts and saying, gee, what can I put in here that's going to get the Academy Award, all right? That's going to be remembered forever. Why don't you come up here and see me sometime?
Mae West.
Mae West in She Done Him Wrong. I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
Oh, Midnight Cowboy?
Midnight Cowboy and Marty McFly in Back to the Future. Remember, these lines are used often and often because they're so well known, they steal them and then they make fun of them. They do it all the time. You can't handle the truth. A Few Good Men. Well, we have a movie buff here, I can tell. Yeah. There's no crying in baseball.
League of Their Own.
Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own. Say hello to my little friend.
Tony Montana.
What?
Scarface.
Scarface, very good. Al Pacino. Now that you're so good at this, let's see how good you are now with famous songs from movies. Now these are songs that are not the theme songs. These are songs that were used in the movie that became very famous. All right? Let's see if you know them.
Ghostbusters.
Back to the Future.
Ghostbusters, no. It is the opening song, Back to the Future, done by Huey Lewis and the News. All right? Here's an easy one.
Because I'm happy all alone. If you feel like
It won Best Song. Okay? It also won a Grammy. What movie is it from? It's Farrell, and he's doing it for the movie Despicable Me.
Oh, wonderful. Take your breath away, Top Gun.
What?
Take your breath away, Top Gun.
Take my breath away from what?
Top Gun.
Top Gun. There's your Top Gun song. And the name of the group is called Berlin.
Ghost. Ghost.
It is the Righteous Brothers. This is Bobby Hatfield singing for Unchained Melody. imagine this scene not having that song. Imagine that song not being in that movie. See how critical it is? Here's one. The group is called Boo Boo Dolls, and the music was used in the movie City of Angels. It's called Iris. All right? Not Dirty Dancing. Cocker. Joe Cocker. It's called Up Where We Belong, and it is in An Officer and a Gentleman. Ooh. All right. Last pop quiz. What movie franchise has had more hit songs than any other movie franchise? What? Big Chill? No. James Bond. James Bond.
Elvis.
This was an easy question. James Bond. Why? Because it's been going on for 50 years. 50 years. No other movie has gone on for 50 years. Goldfinger, Thunderball. Think of all of the movies and songs that came out of James Bond. That's why it is the movie franchise. That was the key. Franchise. Where you just listed a movie. Got it? All right. So, everybody, thank you for coming and attending today.
It's a good time. It really was.
Now, any questions?
Thanks for that, man. That's great. When you said that only four films make money, does that, the box office, that doesn't include whatever they made from TV or DVD sales or merchandise?
Those add to the income, and of course, then the print and advertising increases it. So we're talking about profit of the movies that really made a profit. Then you have to include all the other pieces, and only 5 movies make money. Only 5 of them. Now, I want you to understand when we talk about movies that make money, okay? When you look at a movie that has an opening weekend of so much, you know, it's top box office, you know, it did $30 million for that weekend, it doesn't mean it made any money. It means it entered in first place. A movie, just from your hip, if you ever had to shoot from the hip, has to make between 2 to 3 times the production budget just to break even. Now, they'll have all the, they will list all of the movies and everything. You can look them up on the box office, on all the other movie sites and distribution sites to see what everything did, broken down by actual territory, so they know what territory sold. Did it do well in England? Did it do well in Germany? You know, did it do well in France? What did the domestic do? When you look at movies like Terminator, Superman, Star Wars, they actually do more money overseas than they do in domestically. But we have an old saying, comedy does not cross the pond. So a lot of comedies have no foreign income because it's not humor over there. It's a totally, they don't get it. Just like Downton Abbey, it's a very small percentage. People here who appreciate that show, they just don't get the humor. Okay, next question.
You were talking about sound effects. Okay, I understand. Well, how did they make the movies like Fred Astaire's step dancing, tap dancing? Was also a sound effect, or was it original?
No, the way we're talking about old versus current technology. In the older technology, they had what they call very expensive microphones that were omnidirectional, and they could shoot it. It's like a gun. And the guy would sit there and shoot as he was walking around like this. And if I missed some steps, they would then add some steps in post-production. okay? The only problem is, you know, you wear little microphones like this, but the problem is you hear a lot of rubbing and sound and stuff like that. So they can't really do that. Now, in the movie, I forgot the movie they just did, that won some Academy Awards, they had an orchestra playing in the background, and of course the actors couldn't hear it. So they had little earpieces in, Les Miserables. They had little earphones in here so they could hear, so they could sing, listening to the orchestration instead of having to do everything in post. So it really helped them to be able to act and sing at the same time as if they were on stage, because a lot of these people were actually stage actors. Next question.
Great talk, Commander, thanks. I've got one for you. Who was it said, on account of it was our first movie, it took us a whole afternoon?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Who said, on account of it was our first movie, it took us a whole afternoon?
I have no idea. He probably didn't visit my toilet.
Jed Clampett.
Jed Clampett. Well, that was Beverly Hills Movies, wasn't it? And that was a TV show. Not a movie. Next. Go ahead. I have the lens in front of me. I can't even see the audience. So I just point to it.
How did Hollywood become so politicized?
How did Hollywood become so politicized?
Yes.
Lawyers and politicians and money. How else do you do it? If Hollywood never made any money, it wouldn't be politicized. The fact that they make money, a lot of money, and politicians need to raise money in order to raise campaigns, that's when it becomes politicized. And in lawyers and legal, done. You got the mix. It's a room. Next question.
Did you only look to the American market? I missed the German film, maybe Passport. I don't know the
Did I only look at the American market regarding what?
Your information.
Oh, no, this, okay. Let me see if I can explain this to you. It's an interesting question. The film market, when we look at films, the biggest producer of films is who? The United States, okay? The biggest population on the planet that sees films are who?
China.
China, way above India, way above. I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about the physical people in seats in box office. No, it's still China. And actually there's a lot of lawsuits between U.S. and China and filmmakers because they haven't been paid in full for the distribution. Of course, how do you check their books? That's the problem. So even in India is sold as a market where China is sold as a box office. But when you look at films, whether they're made anywhere in the world, Bollywood doesn't matter, the U.S. is still the #1 film industry. So the biggest film in all of Germany wouldn't even appear on the list. It's just not big enough. Next question. Yeah?
Why did they make the smaller, the 129 films are made, 5 of them make money, why did they make the other one?
Okay, here's an interesting question. If the vast majority of films lose money, where are they getting the money to make the films? It's called OPM, other people's money. You never want to invest in a Hollywood film. You will never get paid whether it makes money or not. One of the famous stories, lawsuits that came out of Hollywood was on the TV show, which was James Arnett's, who was in the TV series, big hit, The Rockford Files. He never got a dime above his salary, because what happened was they would charge all sorts of crazy expenses to the production of the film, which they're allowed to do. And when he questioned, well, what are all these expenses? And he said, what is this $10,000 for transportation of media? And what they found out is when they had the films done, and they had to take them across town, and they put it into a cab, or a limo, or a delivery service, and sent it across town in traffic, they charged $10,000 when the cost was maybe $30 bucks. And when he sued them, bottom line is, the courts, which are supporting Hollywood and not the individual actors, say, and they're allowed to do it, there's nothing in the contract that says they're not allowed to do that. And he lost, but it became very, very public knowledge. But the amount of thievery that goes on in the film business is legendary, which is probably why politicians love meddling with the Hollywood film industry. Next question. Oh, come on, someone has to have a question. Yeah, question over here. Yeah, scream it out. Go ahead, I hear you.
Can you explain what is the completion bond?
Okay, good question. What's a completion bond? Now we're getting into the actual details of everything. Okay, so someone wants us to go ahead and build a building. So we have the money to build it, people are investing in it. The completion bond says if you don't finish it, then we're insured. So you're going to get your money back. So you have to pay for a completion bond. And that completion bond company has their people all throughout your production company, making sure you don't waste a dime and that you are on time and on schedule. Otherwise, they can shut you down. That's what a completion bond is. Every film has to have a completion bond. Now, many, many years ago, there used to be a lot of companies who handle completion bonds. Today, a handful if you're lucky. A lot of films can't even get a completion bond because they're independents, they're too small, they have to do it by the seat of their pants. Next question. Yes?
There's a lot of movies you speak about. With Netflix, for example,
listen, I could have gone, I can do this all day, okay? For all of you people in my iPhone class, you know that we normally go to 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and we're only supposed to be for 2 hours. I can do this all day. But I didn't think you guys wanted to sit there, and of course, Laurie told me you would hit me over the head with a microphone if I went past my time slot. So there's a lot of movies I could have talked about. I just chose some movies out there that I thought would be entertaining and maybe a little different to you, instead of just nothing but big blockbusters. But there's all sorts of movies, okay? And trust me, when you understand that 7,000 movies are made every year, and out of that, 350 of those movies can possibly get a theatrical release, whether it's a big budget, whether it's a wide or a small or an art house film, whatever. There are approximately 6,500 films that go by the wayside no one ever sees. All right? You didn't tell me I'm wrong, right? Listen, what year is it? We'll do that later. Okay, any other questions before I wrap? Because I know they have a lot of things to talk about here for all the wonderful things that you're going to be doing next year. And hopefully everyone was bored out of their mind, so you don't have to come up with another thing for next year or whatever, okay? And by the way, on those little comment cards that you have, please fill out worst speaker ever, bored to death, hated every minute, okay? And then I'll be incredibly happy. All right, thanks everyone for coming.
Okay, thank you. Please thank the Commander, and I'm sure we'd love to have him back one time showing more of his movies. Please thank Steve, the Commander. Steve. And we have a certificate of appreciation for you, Commander. So if you'd like to accept this on behalf of the PCEC.
Spelled